Can you imagine buying a property by scanning a QR code? It's like so wild. The first, like,
No.
I mean, I've seen it happen now a couple of times, but it's like you just scan it and then like that's it, you know? And anyway, for me, that's just like mind blowing, especially considering all of the like time that it takes to have an international wire transfer. And it's like, I want to be able to help our clients, but I don't know how to talk to a banker in France about how to make a wire transfer to El Salvador.
Yeah.
So
We finally did it, folks. My hardest get for this podcast has been Chimbera and Lexi. I mean, they live right here. I don't know. I was starting to get offended they didn't want to come on, but finally we got them on today, and we are going to talk about real estate.
Real estate and Bitcoin, Mike.
Real estate and Bitcoin, of
Yeah.
course. Real estate bought with Bitcoin.
Yes. No, thank you. Thank you for having us. And we're super excited because actually we did an online podcast together, but this is the first one that we're doing live. And it's live from
and
Bitcoin
with me,
Beach.
and with me.
and with Mike. Yeah.
So Lexi, I know a lot of people in the Bitcoin space. They know Chimbera. In fact, he hasn't been on my podcast with me, but he's actually taken it over. I think he prefers to do it when I'm not here.
Oh, right.
So, but would love for people that don't know you, and you have an interesting history on how you barely made it into the country before
Yeah.
COVID, and which sparked all of this. So give people a little bit about your background.
Yeah, I say that it was meant to be that I lived here in El Salvador. I moved. I've been living in El Salvador for about 5 years now. My first trip was in August of 2019, and then I came back in December of 2020 for a surf trip. I just came on a solo surf trip. I ended up meeting Chimbera on the beach here in El Zonte.
Hey guys, just a brief interruption. We'll get back to the exciting show here, but I just want to really ask a favor that you guys could make sure that you're subscribed if you're watching this on YouTube. If you are listening to this on a podcast, please take a second and review this. You don't even have to write a lengthy review or anything at all. Just click the number of stars that you want to give us. It really helps us in the algorithms to make sure people are finding out about what's happening here. All right, back to the show.
And long story short, I ended up staying here in El Salvador. I came back in. I was here for 2 weeks.
Well,
and
you had to stay at first, right?
Well, I was here for 3 weeks, actually. I was here for 3 weeks. I went back to New York City where I was living, and then I came back to visit him in March of 2020.
You came here in 2019 for 3 days.
Yes.
And then
I came back for 3 weeks.
During Christmas.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know the story better than me. And then I came back again for just 10 days in March of 2020.
March 11, 2020.
With a backpack. And I remember the night before I was taking a red eye, and I remember getting these mixed signals from the airlines, like, your flight's been canceled. No, your flight's back on. So I told Chimbera, I'm going to the airport. I have no idea why my flight would be canceled. That is so weird, right? Even though COVID was just starting up at the time. But I went to the airport. I ended up in El Salvador. And then hours later, we heard that the president had closed the border for entry. So that began my long journey of my 5 years living here in El Zonte. And then we started this company together. So yeah, it's been a very, very adventurous and exciting last 5 years, to say the least.
So you owe this all to COVID.
Yeah. COVID is the reason. Yeah, COVID is the reason that I stayed, basically, and him.
Yeah.
But I think COVID forcing you to be here for him. I mean, it takes a while to warm up to him. So,
Yeah, exactly.
I think if you could have left earlier, maybe it wouldn't have happened. So. He's an
Maybe.
acquired taste.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So excited to have you guys on to talk about real estate, because that is really one of the number one questions we get from people. I get from people on the Twitter account is like, hey, I want to come down and look at real estate. how much does it cost?
Yep.
Can I buy something on the beach? And people feel like they get all these different messages, and some people think they can come down here and just buy something for $25,000 on the beach, and that's obviously not the case. So excited to have you guys that I know are experts in this to kind of like walk people through this.
Yeah, they're just a little bit late. Maybe
Yeah.
10 years.
10 years too late.
No, but the real estate market here is, it's not as straightforward as it is in the US or in Canada. And so, like, for example, there's no MLS here in El Salvador. So a lot of foreigners who are coming and looking to invest in the country, they get a little bit hung up on the systems. Like, how do I figure out what's the right investment? How do I understand, comparable pricing? So yeah, we've had to work through a lot of those challenges.
And from what I understand, and you guys are the experts, so I'll let you fix my mistakes. But here there's no like regulated real estate market. Pretty much anybody can call themselves a real estate agent, versus like in the U.S. where it's more regulated. You have to get licensed. And even though the way a lot of listings happen, there's some people that have exclusive listings, but a lot of times you'll have like 10 different people trying to sell the same property, and it's kind of comical because sometimes you look online, you see the same property listed for like 10 different prices, that they'll even put different prices on it.
Yeah.
So explain to people a little bit how that works.
Yeah, I mean, it's not regulated here. That's for sure. I think we always say when we have a commission, we have a sale go through, we really earned it because it really does take a lot of work on our part to make sure that we're cutting through a lot of all of that, making sure that we're getting our clients the best prices and everything. I think it's starting to change here. I think that there will be more regulations in real estate, especially with all of the people coming in and wanting to invest in properties.
Or at least more formalized, like the accepted practices of how to charge. Because I know, I don't see it happen as much anymore, but you used to see like properties listed for a price, and a lot of times it would be like, the seller told the real estate person, I want at least 200,000, and they'll list it for 300,000, and they'll just try to make the difference. And that was, kind of normal. I don't see that happening as much anymore. It seems like it's kind of more like a straight commission now.
I would say that, and I think also buyers are demanding more professionalism, right? Like, and we're getting that kind of clientele. So I don't think that there's the room to have some of those practices that used to exist in the country, although it's still not regulated and there still are challenges. But I do think it's getting a little bit easier.
Yeah, and I think is everyone talking about that, right? Real estate is not regulated, but it is regulated in some ways, because the difference is that you don't need a license. There is not a course to be a realtor, but if you want to work in real estate, you have to have a real estate company establishing, and you need to pay taxes and you need to complying with many things, and I think it's part of the reason why we started Good Life, because some of the challenge that you're mentioning is like, how we have been the first contact for many people for work, for Bitcoin Beach, for a lot of Bitcoiners that reach out to us and that want to come and see what's happening here. They start also asking me like, can you help me to buy a property? I want to buy a piece of land. I want to have a beachfront property. But it's exactly what I saw too, that is people try to take advantage of that, and one of the most common thing, like I would say not anymore, but still it is the overpricing.
Yeah.
That was really common, that the seller want to sell a property, someone come and say like, how much you want? 200,000? Oh, I can sell it for 300,000 and I can make like 100,000. I'm like, that's not right,
Yeah.
And I think real estate is about trust, and I think we see the real estate transaction and our company and our business like in the same way that we're Bitcoiners. We trust each other because we are Bitcoiners, but in the same way, I see real estate companies as a third part, and we're Bitcoiners, we don't
Yeah.
like the third parties, you know. So you gotta add value to the equation, you know, to the deal. So uh, most of our clients that are Bitcoiners are like they decide to working with us because we add value to that,
Yeah.
right? And protecting them to what they're getting is the fair price, is the right investment. I talk many times with Lexi and I say, uh, maybe we're not realtors, maybe we're more like financial advisors to investing in real estate here, you know.
Yeah, and I mean,
A little
just
bit.
just to clarify, like I like the fact that the real estate market is not regulated the way it is in the U.S. I think that it's actually more of a true market. But in the past, it was kind of opaque, and now I feel like as more demand is coming in, it's self-regulating itself. And so I
Right.
think it's a good example of we don't need the government to come in and put a bunch of restrictions on things. We just need to allow the market to function. And I feel like it's increasingly. But I still hear from people, they're like, no, don't use an agent. I'm going to come down there and do it myself. And you can do that, but it's very hard. You're going to spend, weeks and months. And then a lot of times, you'll make a deal with somebody and find out they don't actually own the property, or there's problems with the title. And so it, maybe you can find a little bit better deal, but it's like, what's your time worth? And so I think sometimes people like to save, a small few percentage points of commission. They're gonna like kill themselves. And so I think
That's true. I think we do. I've spoken to clients who just prefer to try and do it themselves, right? And maybe some people think that's. I think some people genuinely have a good time trying to like solve.
some people like doing
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
it's like the thrill of the chase. Like, let me see what I can find, and that's okay. And it is possible. It's possible to find your own properties. I think, and to do it on your own. But I think we provide real value in the sense that like we can get you a better price.
Yeah.
We do give real value, and so our commission is earned. Like we deserve that commission at the end of the day, and it's worth it for the seller, and it's worth it for the buyer.
Yeah, and again, like many people do real estate, and it's something that it's even in the USA, I think is one of the business that many people want to get into, and El Salvador having now real estate is like, there are so many realtors, right? But it's like I see this very often, and it's like someone that just moved to El Salvador advising on buying a piece of real estate when you don't know the price. You don't know the price. What was the price 5 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what was the price 10 years ago. If we just get here now, I tell clients there are two type of price now. Like there is the price on the expectation of what El Salvador is doing, and how El Salvador is growing, and there is the real price of the market, But most of the people are selling their properties based on the expectation, And I think like that's not fair, because if you're buying now at this time, you want to have that benefit. That's how real estate works, right? And that's why it's very often like we have calls, we have meetings with clients that have been hearing about, real estate, about us, and the first call is like, yeah, what can I buy? I want to buy now. And I was like, it's not about selling you a property. You gotta come here. You gotta learning. You have to understanding what you're doing.
And make sure you buy where you want to be.
Exactly.
Because that's the huge thing. If you buy in a place that, maybe it's a better price, but then it's a beach that, nobody wants to come visit you at, or it's way out, far from everything, you're not really going to enjoy it. You're better off spending a little bit more, in another location. Or maybe you don't even want to be at the beach because you don't like to be hot and sweaty, and it's hot and sweaty at the beach. You want to be in the mountains where it's cooler.
And Mike, is like, what we have been learning is that buying a piece of real estate here in El Salvador is look different for everyone, and everyone want accomplishing different things. Everyone have a different dream. Everyone want accomplishing different things. So, and a lot of people just have been hearing just about Bitcoin Beach, about Surf City 1, Surf City 2, or Bitcoin city. But when they get educated about how the market is, or they have been here, oh no, Bitcoin Beach is already expensive. It's not the time, but it's not true. There are so many other opportunities and so other places where I think El Salvador fit the need and the budget of everyone. You
Yeah.
know.
Well, what I love about your guys' team is you kind of bring two different things to the table. You know, obviously, Roman, you grew up here, you're a local, you understand what's going on the ground. You've seen it come through the transformation of the bad times, you know, into what we see now. And so you understand that, you understand the issues with titling, with the, you know, that some properties get sold and there's caretakers that live on the property. And so that's something that people have to consider because you don't want to be displacing people from their homes. And so you understand all the local things. And then Lexi, coming from the US and New York City, like knows what, you know, Americans and foreign buyers want. And there's certain things that, you know, exist here, the way they do construction or the way that utilities are done or the fact that, you know, a lot of houses don't have hot water, that those are going to be things that are the clients are not going to want. And so you know what things to look for, where sometimes people buy a place and then they're surprised. They're like, wait, this house has no hot water? Like what? Like it's not even plumbed for hot water? Like, because it's not like just putting in a water heater. You got to like hollow out the walls and put all new pipes in, all this stuff. And so I think to have those two parts come together, I think that's why your guys' clients are so happy, because you're able to, you know, bring up those points with them.
Yeah, and I think another thing is, you know, I lived in New York City for 10 years, almost 10 years before I moved here. And so my work ethic is like, I have a very like hustle mentality, I guess,
Yeah.
to things. And I think one thing that I noticed a lot in El Salvador when I moved here is things can move very slow, or sometimes, you know, you try and get a response from somebody and you don't hear from them for a while. And so we also wanted to make sure that we were providing like a really great level of high class level of professionalism to our clients, making sure that we answer, you know, we really follow through with people. If we say that we're going to get back to them, we get back to them. And that was really important for me coming into creating this company with Roman. So I do a lot of that execution. And I think that's been really helpful too, because we do have clients that say, well, I reached out to 4 different agents and you're the only one that got back to me, you know, so that's been really important, I think, from my background.
Yeah. No, that's definitely, I think you see that with a lot of the services here. I'm always surprised. I'm like, well, don't you want my money? Like, I'm trying to get a hold of you and I want to pay you. And yeah.
Yeah. And you know, it's just like, it's different cultures, you know? And so I think part of me has really learned to adapt to that and realize that me coming in from the USA, I can't just change the way that things are done here. But definitely for our business, we wanted to bring that professionalism.
Yeah.
100%.
So one of the things that I hear from people all the time, or I see from people, is this expectation that they're going to come down here and buy, you know, a house, and that they're going to put 5 or 10% down, and you know, they think, well, I've got $50,000, and so I'm gonna, you know, buy $1 million house down here and get a loan. From my experience, getting loans here is next to impossible, especially if you don't live here. And even when you can, they're very expensive. Now, I see people, you know, saying that, hey, we can get you approved for a mortgage. We can, and I've always remained skeptical. So I'm just curious, from what you guys seen, do you have clients that are getting mortgages, or is it primarily cash buyers, or what would you say to people who, you know, expect to come down and buy something with a mortgage?
You want me to answer? Yeah. Most of our buyers are cash buyers. We do have
Or Bitcoin.
Yeah, or Bitcoin. Yes, Bitcoin buyers. And that's not always because we have really rich clients with a whole bunch of cash on hand. We have clients that are selling their assets in the United States or Canada and like completely relocating here and so but most of our buyers are cash buyers. It is challenging to get financing as a foreigner here. And I have heard that it's been done. We did do it actually for one of our clients. But it's the banks here take a really long time, especially if you're interested in properties in the coast. Banks are even a little bit more skeptical of that kind of real estate here. So it's not super straightforward, although it is possible.
Yeah. What we tell clients is that we can do the introduction with the bank, but in the end is case by case. You need to prove to the bank that you're a good business for them, but it's like you, as you say, it's really hard, you know?
Well, just trying to open a bank account here is
Oh
just
yeah.
as frustrating as
You
can
have,
be.
like-
So I can't even imagine trying to go through a loan process.
And I think, sorry, and I think one other thing is that there's a lot of properties moving very quickly here. When there's a good property
Yeah.
for sale, if you do have to try and work with the banks to get financing, probably that property is going to be gone. It's just the reality of the situation. So, yeah, it's challenging.
Yeah, I like Lexi say, we got finance for a client that buy an apartment in Tuscania, but it's a beautiful gated community near to the city, but we're not involved. We don't help with finance because it's really hard. But I have been seeing also like once you are establishing here and you have a company and you have maybe other assets, other properties, the banks will be more willing to finance you, you know. But in the beginning it's doesn't exist
Yeah.
that you will come with 20% down payment and getting 80% of finance from the bank. You know, it's just
I think a lot of people wind up taking seconds on their homes in the U.S. or something like that. That is much easier.
We do know that is a barrier to entry though, because we say like even $100,000 is a lot of money, you know?
Yeah.
So one option sometimes is seller financing. A lot of sellers aren't willing to do it, but we do have properties where the seller is willing to take on financing for the buyer. So that's always like a creative way of trying to get financing for clients who need it and who really want a specific property.
or one advice that I tell clients is like maybe propose to the bank to finance 50%, you know, maybe financing 50%, they will be more open. And I have been seeing that, but even there, you know, it's depending where is the property,
Yeah.
you know.
That
Yep.
makes sense. So the other thing about finance, other than financing, that people are always asking is like, how much does it cost to buy a house? And that's always one of those questions. You're like, well, it just depends. You can find houses in El Salvador for $15,000. Now, they're probably not going to be what you think of as a house. It's going to be a block shack with a lamina roof in the middle of nowhere. And so while that's possible, that's obviously not what most people are coming down here looking for. So I know you guys primarily work at the beach, though I know you've sold some homes in the city and in the mountains and other places too. But give people kind of a lay of the land of like realistically, what should I expect to pay for something?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely depends on where you are looking, the price that you will get. So El Zonte is probably the highest price town in
all of El Salvador, probably.
in all of El Salvador,
Yeah.
I would say.
El Salvador is the Malibu of El Salvador.
El Zonte.
El Zonte, El
El Zonte.
Zonte, El Zonte. Yeah.
El Zonte, yeah, it's kind of what we say. I mean, the prices here are elevated, more
Yeah.
elevated than other parts of the
I
country.
mean, even you pay more in El Zonte than you would in like some of the nicest places in San Salvador, in the capital city.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I mean, I think, listen, like El Zonte is ground zero for Bitcoin Beach and the circular Bitcoin economy. And so those are like intangibles that you can't really, I don't know, those are intangibles
Yeah.
that are really important, right? When you consider the pricing here.
Well, and it's just has so much natural beauty. It has
Yeah.
good waves. It has all these other things. So it's the full package.
People want to be
Yeah.
here. I mean, people want to be in El Zonte. So I understand we have a lot of clients who are like, I want something oceanfront in El Zonte. And I'm like, what's your budget? If it's less than like million more, But the thing about it in El Zonte really is also there's just not a lot of inventory
Yeah.
anymore. It's really small. So we're seeing, options on the mountainside in El Zonte. But there are great opportunities all around the country. I always try and have a very clear expectation with our clients. Like, please tell me your maximum budget. Like that is the number that I want to hear, because if you tell me your maximum budget, I can tell you where might be a good place for you to be. Like if you say my maximum budget is 300,000 and I want an oceanfront property, well, we're going to like shift a little bit outside of El Zonte and start looking at other areas, and we'll be realistic with you that that doesn't buy you oceanfront in El Zonte. So, yeah, it really depends on the area and also what you want, you know? Like if you want a lot of land or you want a house that's already built. So those are all factors that are really
So
important.
like oceanfront and El Zonte, you're like minimum $1 million if you can find
If you can
anything,
find
because
it.
there's just nothing for sale.
Yeah, or more, probably more than $1 million.
Yeah.
Is
But that like that
Yeah.
would be the
for
base for a lot.
land, for a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have one of the things that's been really popular are pre-construction projects, and you know, I think that there's a lot of demand for properties in El Salvador right now, and I don't think the supply caught up as quickly as the demand. Hence, also why some of the prices are more expensive, I guess. But pre-construction projects have been really helpful because you are going to get that luxury, as long as you buy into the right project, you're going to get that luxury finish that a lot of North American clients are interested in. So that's been really popular, especially here in El Zonte.
Yeah. So you guys have sold a number of different projects that are, I think some of them are actually, people are living in them now. Some are still under construction.
Yeah, Wave House was one. That one we just started closing on units. I think, we closed on units last week. So that was really exciting. I think it was about 2 years in the making, almost 2 years under construction, give or take. And that was really exciting to see that come to life. You know, we saw it from like nothing in bare ground to...
Yeah.
And if I'm remembering right, those were like $350 for like a studio, and then the like 2 bedrooms were like $600 or what?
Yeah, I think that there were 2 different types of studio offerings. I think it started around $250 and went all the way up to almost $1 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think everyone have kind of the same dream, right?
Sorry, just real quick. This is Wave House.
Oh
right here,
yes,
right? Yeah.
this is the interior. This is the art gallery in Wave House, which is pretty cool. So, it's 19 condominium units and everything very like luxury, modern, but also tropical.
Yeah.
So I think they did a great job. Yeah, this is the outdoor space.
Sorry, Ramon, I didn't
No,
mean
no,
to
no, no,
cut
no,
you
no,
off.
no.
But you can see some of the interiors, like it's very appealing. I mean, who wouldn't want to wake up with a ocean view like that, right? You can't really see the ocean in that photo, but these are the oceanfront units. So there were 4. I think there were about 4 ocean. This is a long time since we sold this project, so excuse my memory, but I think it was about 4 oceanfront units, and then the other ones had ocean view on the side. But this is a cool project, and I think it fits really well into the into like the landscape of El Zonte too. So
There is an Airbnb. People can start renting units and feeling, how it's going. No, but what I was trying to say, Mike, is like a lot of people have the same dream, to have a beachfront property, but beachfront properties are like Bitcoin, no one is making more, right? And I think these new construction projects have been an alternative of, people that have been dreaming to have a beachfront property in Bitcoin Beach. It might be that they cannot have the full property, with a house, but now they can have a condominium, an apartment. And I think that have been like really interesting. It's the new market, new trend, I will say. But of course, we have people that come, I want beachfront, or I want ocean view, and ocean view, in my case, it might be because I grew up by the beach. I prefer ocean view, and there are so many opportunities, like beautiful lots that you can find maybe in some of the best Geddes community here between 80,000 up to 150,000 maybe for
the lot.
For the lot, just for vacant land.
Probably not in El Zonte, but in the surrounding areas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then to give you like an estimate price, maybe not in Zonte, in other beaches around like maybe 10, 20, 30 minutes away from El Zonte, we can still find a property, a beachfront house for maybe between $350 up to $800,000, and it's still available,
I think one thing that's interesting about real estate is that like people want it to make sense now. Like they want to come and they want to have everything ready, but they want that for a certain price. Whereas I think there's some really good opportunities in areas that will develop. So if you can have that foresight and say, like for example, we have a property right now. It's 1.15 acres, like 10 minutes driving from El Zonte, and it's beautiful ocean view. We could probably pull it up. But this property, like to me, is I think it's 200 and it's over 250,000, but it's it's an acre and
Yeah.
beautiful view, and you're like 5 minutes from the surf. So those are interesting opportunities for people to consider. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, um, I think everyone have been hearing that the prices of real estate have been increasing like crazy, right?
Just real quick, was that on the website, that property?
Yeah. Sorry, I was on
Okay.
the website.
So so the prices have been increased. Like some people say, it's too crazy. But yesterday we were talking about this that it's like yeah, prices have been going up, but it's also what you're getting in return is different. From probably 5, 10 years ago, properties were less expensive, but what you were getting in return it was more risky
Yeah, yeah.
than investing now. And a lot of
It's
people
kind of like Bitcoin. Like people say it's too expensive now, but the risk reward is actually better
Exactly.
now than it's ever been.
Exactly. So yesterday we were touching about this, and actually, if you see what you're getting in return when people are investing in real estate here, it's like, it means if you're a Bitcoiner, if you're like looking for freedom, hope, uh, we have been traveling a lot recently, in many places. I don't see another place that really I will feel exciting, and
Well, plus if you're a Bitcoiner, prices actually have been going down. So that's
Well, that's another reason why people are interested in pre-construction, especially
Yeah.
Bitcoiners. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really hard to get Bitcoiners to
they
let
can
go of their
tie the
Bitcoin for
price.
property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that is one thing, right?
Yeah.
So the pre-construction are like great projects because you have we have one project. It's not going to be complete until probably early 2026, but or end of 2025. And so if Bitcoin does what it's supposed to do, we don't know, but that
Yeah.
is an attractive project for them to have those milestone payments, with 50% at closing.
So just to go back to what you guys were talking about oceanfront versus ocean view, I love being on the ocean. We recently moved and we're on the ocean. I love like the sound of the waves. I mean, everything about it. But you need to be realistic about the upkeep that comes with being on the coast. I mean, we have brand new construction and we're already having to like repaint things and they'll tell you they're like, oh no, this is stainless steel, it won't rust. Like, don't believe them. It'll rust on the coast. Like anything other than plastic or like the local hardwood is going to rust or rot. Like it's just part of being right on the water. Where if you're more up on the hill, you still get the beautiful ocean views and your maintenance is going to be way less. And so, those are good things for people to keep in mind. The other is having a home versus having a condo. Like everybody wants to have a home, you want to have the yard, you want to have your own private pool, but that comes with like a cost, not just money wise, but also your time of like upkeeping everything. Most people here, if they have a house on the coast, just because there's so much maintenance, you have a caretaker family that lives on the property that takes care of everything. That's another, now you're managing, employees. And so it has other things it brings with it. I still choose to have a house because I want the freedom, I want to have the yard, but I think for a lot of people, they will be better served by a condo where they can kind of just lock it up and leave. And then they, especially if they're coming back and forth, they don't have to really take care of anything outside. They know there's people taking care of things and they show up or they can have their friends show up and, just open the door to it. And, they're ready to go. They don't have to come down and like, oh, this broke and we got to fix this. And so I think that's something for people to think about.
No,
Yeah, well, and that's something that's back to what Chimbera was saying about understanding what do our clients want, right? Because we do, like, somebody will say, I want a house, but it's our job to also sort of like educate them on those things and say, okay, well, we have houses, but if you have a house, you have to consider these things. So maybe a condo is right for you, but like obviously we want to try and meet their needs. But we have had so many times where clients want something specific and they buy something entirely different. So,
yeah. No, and it's also probably the media doesn't talk about this, but the number of people looking to investing now in El Salvador or moving to El Salvador is really quite high,
Yeah.
I will say. So, but a lot of people also are just want to have a plan B, you know? They just want to have a house in cases they need it, but in the meantime, they want to come like a couple months per year. You know, they know that they cannot move fully here, you know, full time here, but it made it totally easier to have a condominium that you close the door, you're leaving, and someone managing. If you want to do Airbnb, you know, I think Airbnb is something that it's another thing that is coming really like interesting, you know, like for people that want investing, want to have that plan B, but in the meantime, it's generating like
some income for them.
some incomes, you know.
yeah.
Is that one lot you were talking about before? Can you guide Paco to where to pull that
Go
up?
to listings and just click on listings. Oh, there. Yep.
Yeah.
And then this is testing the speed of our website.
Well,
it
it might be our internet in here.
1.15 acres, the one that's second row and in the middle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right there. So this is one that you were talking about that was
Yeah,
a
and
good
actually,
chunk of land.
yeah, and actually, a friend of ours purchased the seller built a home, and one of our friends
Okay.
purchased it, so it's a little bit down there near the street, the house. But anyway, this lot. I mean, you have a really wonderful ocean view, and this is something, for example, that you could purchase and you could even segregate with friends, like if you wanted to, or if you wanted to build. I think it's always a great option if you want to have a vacation home or you want to spend time, is to like build a little casita that you can have and have a main house that you can rent or vice versa. So this is like a big enough piece of land and it's so close to El Zonte. It's just 10 minutes. So
Well, or even if people that like have family members, they want their kids to have.
yeah,
you know,
totally.
We see people do that.
So yeah, I think something like this is interesting, interesting to consider outside of just like the main hotspots for tourism.
Yeah, and this is crazy now that for us, right? Like to live 5-10 minutes away from the beach seems so far now, you know. But I already know that like 5-10 years from now, living 1 hour from the beach, it will not be so far, you know. And
Yeah, that's
so
true. Well, yeah, and I think also if you look at real estate here from a very macro level, you have surfers who like to go to Nicaragua or Costa Rica or whatever, but it takes a really long time to get, you fly into the airport and it takes a really long time to get to some of those beaches. So the cool thing about El Salvador on a macro level is that you can fly into the airport and you're an hour from the beach.
Yeah.
You're an hour from San Salvador, so you can live at the beach and then you can still go to the city an hour away, get your groceries, get everything that you need. So I think
my kids went to school in San Salvador, even though we live at the beach. I mean, it's a little bit of a hike, but there's still that possibility.
Yeah, so just the proximity and the access here, because El Salvador is so small, it just makes a lot of sense if you're looking for like a vacation property or to live.
So let's pull up. I know we talked before. You had some examples of houses that were a little bit outside of El Zonte, and that there was that one that you guys they bought. It looked like it was kind of a tear down, but they did like a very cool rehab on it.
Yeah.
So that's something for people to consider. Of do you want something newer that's a condo, or are you willing to take an older property that has some unique character and some weirdness about it, but you can kind of turn it into your own thing. So yeah, you look at that picture. That's not exactly curb appeal.
Yeah.
Like,
what you're not seeing in this picture is the ocean view.
Yeah. So the ocean's right in front.
So the ocean's right in front.
Yeah.
If you're standing and you're looking the other way, it's right there. So this was Yeah, these are my favorite stories, honestly. Are people who come in and revive, like breathe new life into these properties that otherwise are pretty much abandoned, right? So we go ahead.
No, but I will say a lot of people will
Oh, there we go.
will not want to do that. Everyone expecting that there is gonna be a brand new villa with 3 bedrooms, and an infinity pool in the ocean, but it doesn't exist. But what is more common is in all these beaches, the houses were like houses for families from San Salvador that used to go on the
Yeah,
weekend,
they're
and they
built maybe like 30, 40 years ago.
exactly. But this is like kind of perfect example that the potential is there. These client, these friends from Canada, are like, wow, we can do something nice, and the result is like
Yeah,
amazing.
they did a really good job with it.
And how much did that one sell for?
Okay.
In the dilapidated shape.
That was 350,000, but you won't find that now.
Yeah.
Yes, at the time it was 350.
So what do you think something like that would be now?
Like if you were something in the old state, like in the state it was before it was
Yeah.
renovated.
And this is like 20
now,
minutes from El Zonte, right?
This is in San Blas.
Okay,
so
20 minutes.
It's still in a very popular area. I think a piece of land like that, or what would it sell for now? Maybe around 700, I think. Even in the old state that it was, to be honest. This is a really good piece of property.
2 years ago that it sold for 350.
Yeah, we ended up. Yeah, it took a while to go through with the sale, but yes. But now it would be. I think it would be more. This is a really good deal that we found for them. By the way.
No, and the land is big. It's a big piece of land too. So
yeah.
So let's look again at the before and then the after, just so it gives people the. So this is the before.
Yeah.
So if you have clients that are taken, that they can have some vision of what it can become, before obviously, and then this after they've done, a refurb. And how much do you think they spent doing the refurb of the?
I don't know.
I think we have some more of the refurb. Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know for sure. I would want to ask them that question. But I think, like this is a really good example of areas like, not in El Zonte. San Blas is still really popular, but looking for these types of houses that are older that you can renovate. And some of them, you have to try and understand, is it worth renovating?
Yeah.
Or is it not?
Which, because a lot of times it's not.
It's a tear down.
It's a tear down. It wasn't built right, or it has other like existing issues and so you are better off just scraping it. And I'm the worst at that because I always want to save everything, and I'm always like, no, we should. But I've found that in general you're better off. In some cases. But obviously they were able to redo this one very nicely.
But when you talk about real estate and investment dollars coming into the country, like I just think these are really cool stories because you see something old and then you see it renovated and you realize that this now is on Airbnb and this is bringing job opportunities to people in that area and they're enjoying it and using it. And I don't know, I love stories like this. I think that this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
We were proud to see this happen. Yeah. But we have a couple of buyers who have purchased this type of situation where they're renovating. But like Chimbera was saying, it's just not common that it's not common that you're just going to come to El Salvador and you're going to find some like really great place that's newly renovated. Like those are sometimes hard to find.
Yeah.
It's coming, but again, demand kind of crept up higher than supply.
Yeah. So that's one example. What's some other examples of just like some listings you have? I think we have some pictures that Paco can pull up just so people can have an idea.
The website or the picture?
Yeah, you can actually go to the website if you want, to the listings. If you just click on listings, and you'll see some of the options. Like we have this. Actually, this is a great one. There's a beach house in Costa Azul on the far right there. This house is under 250,000, and it's cool. Like I don't think this is the best picture, to be honest with you, but if you look at some of the photos of the interior, you can see that the seller has really done a good job of sort of like putting her own design flair on this. And this is an area that is definitely up and coming. There's not a lot of tourism there yet, but this would be an example of something that would be a really interesting purchase. It's third line from the beach. And if somebody wanted to buy this and have it on Airbnb or live there, I mean, there's a lot of different options. But this is a cool listing in a new area.
Cool. Any other ones you want to highlight?
Go back to listings. I mean, we have a mix of different things.
So let's click on that one that I went to see the other day, just to give people an example of sometimes that you.
La Perla.
Yeah, that one in the middle. So sometimes what people they'll have to be like great properties, but they'll have to be able to envision what they can do with them. Because this was one we went to visit, and I was like, I don't know if there's pictures down below, but they chose to paint it very, very colorful. So I was saying, like, for most Americans, that's not gonna be like you can kind of see in the rooms. You got the teal and the purple but like a beautiful like house, if it really just needs somebody to come in and repaint it and do a few little things, and it'll be a beautiful place.
But this is a super cool concept because it's an oceanfront property with two neighboring houses. They're the same house,
like a
right?
Duplex,
It's like a duplex. So I think this is such a cool idea and a cool concept that you could buy one and then rent the other, or you could buy it with friends, or there's like a lot of different things you could do with this. But yes, to your point, there's a lot of properties that you'll walk into in El Salvador, and maybe they're not like the standards that you would expect if you were walking into an oceanfront home in somewhere in the United States. So I think that like the styles can be a little bit different, and that's something you just have to expect when you come here. And
I know that you can change.
And you can change.
Like with my wife and I, like my wife has a hard time seeing it other than as it is.
Yeah.
And so she'll go in the place and be like, and I'm
but
like,
it's just a
no,
wall paint.
We
Yeah,
could like do this and this. And so it's, you have to have that kind of more open mind with that. And I think the units were each there were 5 bedrooms.
Yeah, 5 bedrooms.
5 baths.
Yeah, so they're
And oceanfront, and what were they, like 700 or?
So they're sold as one. Well, that's the list. I mean, I think you can actually probably purchase them as 2, but it's 1.2 million. Yeah, asking for
so
for the whole thing.
600,000 each for each unit, which was right on the water, new construction, just needs a little paint work. And so there are those kind of things. What I had started to ask before, and I want to focus on, because obviously this is live from Bitcoin Beach, and we've been talking, and I feel a little bit dirty at this point because we keep talking in fiat amounts, all this time.
That needs to be in Bitcoin, right?
What has your guys been experience with people buying in Bitcoin? I know there's even I've seen some properties that are only priced in Bitcoin, which I love to see, that they're not even priced in fiat, they're priced in Bitcoin. But I know that you guys have done a number of Bitcoin transactions, and sometimes it's the seller or the buyer doesn't want to do it and the other one does. And so just talk about the advantages of buying with Bitcoin. You were telling me a story right before we started about even like you've had non-Bitcoiners wind up buying in Bitcoin because they just realize it's so much easier to bring funds in from overseas using Bitcoin than try to use the crazy banking system they have here. So so let's talk about that.
Well, I think I'm just gonna say one thing,
ahead,
and then Bitcoin is like your
go ahead,
more your thing. I just can you imagine buying a property by scanning a QR code? It's like so wild. The first I mean, I've seen it happen now a couple times, but it's like you just scan it and then that's it, And anyway, for me that's just like mind blowing, especially considering all of the time that it takes to have an international wire transfer. And so,
how many headaches have those caused you as you've tried to get clients getting money in and their wires get held up and it's
frustrating
weeks, and then the sellers want to pull out because they haven't received their money and
and then it's I want to be able to help our clients, but I don't know how to talk to a banker in France about how to make a wire transfer to El Salvador. So, but anyway, this is
go ahead.
So I think, one thing is for people to know that we're making transactions happen in Bitcoin. We really are selling real estate in a large percentage. I mean, especially for the pre-construction projects.
They're all accepting Bitcoin, right? All the
Yeah, they do. But it's easier what you were saying, Mike, when the seller wanna accepting Bitcoin payments and the buyer want to pay in Bitcoin is it's much easy transactions, right? Like it's like imagine like traveling from the USA to buy a property to El Salvador with $1 million in cash, like it will be impossible, right? But with Bitcoin, our clients, we have been helping a lot of Bitcoiners, like good friends, people that, some of them are really famous, and big names, and that is have been like super good to see how Bitcoin is playing that role in real estate here, because I don't think so there is another place that the price of real estate goes along with the price of Bitcoin, and that is really, really interesting. And the other thing is like when the seller don't want accepting Bitcoin, but the buyer want to pay in Bitcoin, start getting a little bit of like we have to use a third part
Yeah.
that have to provide the liquidity, and they took the Bitcoin from the buyer and wiring US dollar to the seller. But still there is we have been closing some business like this.
Well, I just had a call with Sat Street the other day explaining their services, and it's you're going to pay a 1% fee in general. That's kind of the
Yeah.
but that it's like if the seller doesn't want to accept Bitcoin, they can kind of serve as that intermediary, and they've figured out how to work with the banks here to make sure the wires get accepted, and they've kind of so there is possibilities now. Obviously what we want to see and what works best is when it's a Bitcoin purchase and,
Yeah.
the seller wants to receive Bitcoin.
And Sat Street has helped us a lot, actually, in some of these transactions. So
Yeah, and
Just real quick, sorry. Your clients that didn't want to receive Bitcoin, you should update them every year about how much that Bitcoin would be worth at that point.
yeah, but it happened cases that the buyer is not a Bitcoiner. Is a client from Holland, for name a country, but we have been convincing them and say, guys, it's better for you to convert in your money in Holland to Bitcoin and come here to El Salvador and buy with Bitcoin, because wow, we have been closing fiat transactions, right, with international wire transfer, and it's like it's possible, but it's a headache.
yeah.
And
Yeah, and I mean, it still is. It still requires a lot of like education, and it's not super hassle free to take somebody who's a fiat buyer and convert them to a Bitcoin purchase. There's like a lot of education, and there is still red tape in those transactions, like how do they get the Bitcoin and all that kind of stuff. But Bitcoin does make the transaction much more simple.
Well, I think especially here, because one thing that I think is scary for a lot of American buyers, especially when they show up, is there's no escrow services here. So the way properties are bought, it's like you go in and you pay and they sign over the property like at the same time. Well, that's really challenging when you're sending an international wire, which you don't know if it's going to take 1 week, 2 weeks, how many times you're going to have to go to the banking office to provide documentation to get them to release the wire. So then you have this trust issue of when do they sign over the property? Is it when you initiate the wire or when they receive the wire? And what happens if something crazy, somebody get hit by a bus? There's all kinds of stuff that happens in between.
we try to sign first, and we are at the lawyer office. We sign, and it's like, okay, you can send the wire, but it's crazy.
But there's risk. There's
Yeah.
risk that people can pull back the wire, and then it's just going to create a mess. But with Bitcoin, you can literally like
In the
watch
moment.
them at the computer, initiate the transaction. If you want to wait for it to confirm, you can wait for it to confirm. If not, that they've already like initiated it, and it's probably going to confirm. By the time you've signed everything else. But you have that ability to not have to trust the other person and not have to worry about escrow services or anything like that. And so that's amazing.
I think it's El Salvador is well, it's Bitcoin country, but actually is if you want to buy a property here, I will highly recommending like come with Bitcoin. It will be less questions from the banks. It's like we can convert in those Bitcoin here to use dollars if the seller don't want Bitcoin, but it will be much easier.
Yep.
Yeah.
True.
No, I mean, even in the past when I've tried to buy like vehicles here or different things, it's always a headache. Like sometimes I think it's easier just to fly to the US and pick up cash and bring it back. I mean, that's like, which is crazy in this day and age that's so with Bitcoin, it just really solves all of those issues.
does.
And I think as more and more people experience, I think even your clients that weren't Bitcoiners that did a Bitcoin like transaction, I'm sure now they're like, oh yeah, they understand
Yeah, this
why
is the way to
Bitcoin's
go.
needed.
And this is why I think it's interesting. Like we'll see what happens with Bitcoin adoption around the world in terms of real estate transactions, because the more people that experience that here and see like, wow, this really simplifies the process. Like, how will that then reverberate into other parts of the world? It will be interesting to see, but
Yeah.
kind of a game changer.
And one of the things that I think in other countries like foreign cannot buy and owns property, but El Salvador is a country that you can do it. The title is transferred to your name, and
Yeah, that's an important thing to note. Like you can hold free title to, I think it's freehold title or something like that. Where same as in the U.S., where anybody can own the property. You don't have to like do it through a corporation or have some type of 100-year lease or anything. You own the property outright.
Your document, your need, your tax identification number, that's your need that we help most of our clients to get it. Like it's super easier. And your cold wallet, and you're ready to go.
True.
No, that's well, the important question, and I'm sure you guys face this all the time, is people asking, well, why should I spend my Bitcoin on real estate now? And so how do you answer that for people that feel like, no, I'd be better off just holding my Bitcoin? I know how I would answer it, but I want to hear how you guys answer it.
I think people purchase real estate for two reasons. One is as an investment and one is for utility.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of Bitcoiners who are purchasing real estate here for utility purposes. Like they want to use their unit, they want to live here, they want to move here, they want to spend half the year. So for them, it's a lot of that. And then I think also, well, actually, yeah, I don't know. You can answer whatever you want to say.
I think it's a time preference, and it's also depending on when did you buy Bitcoin? At what price did you have been buying Bitcoin, but what have been really interesting to me is that many clients that we have been helping, they don't need to investing in real estate here. They don't need to spend their Bitcoin. They already know that Bitcoin is a better asset to hold, and it will appreciate much better than a real estate. Even if here in El Salvador we see like something crazy with real estate.
It's still going down in Bitcoin terms.
Exactly. But many people that are buying real estate here with Bitcoin is because they want to support what El Salvador is doing, and I think this is come from the vision that President Bukele is doing when he did Bitcoin a legal tender here. It kind of give us and give to the rest of the people around the world, the first place, the first country to say, I have a house in Bitcoin country, and I think that have been a dream for many people that now they can come here to El Salvador and make it a reality, But that's one thing. My straight answer to people, to clients, when they come to us and say, hey, I want to buy a real estate in El Salvador, I want investing in real estate, but I will spend my Bitcoin to do this. I'm honest with them. I say, if you're going to spend all your Bitcoin to buy a real estate in El Salvador, it might be that you just wait a little bit. Because maybe in 5 years, you will not have to sell all your Bitcoin to buy a real estate in El Salvador, and you will
Yeah.
you will be able to do better maybe and keep some of your Bitcoin, you know?
Well, I think too, it comes down to what stage in life you're at. So if you're young and you're still trying to acquire assets, when you know, this is, I've never been a big birthday person, but I'm turning like 50 this year. And so it's made me like, kind of like think about things. You're like, well, I don't have that many years left. And so you start thinking about what do you value? You want a place for your family. I want to wake up and be able to look at the ocean each day. And that's going to give me more enjoyment than looking at my cold wallet. And so not that I would spend all my Bitcoin, but it made me feel like, okay, I'm willing to take some of that, even though I know it's going to go down in price, you know, over the years, and I would be better off just holding Bitcoin. I'm not going to have all the memories and the enjoyment and also, I think for a lot of people too, to have that plan B, to have a property here, who knows what's going to happen in the U.S. with this when the election comes around, or even if we make it through this cycle without any craziness. I feel like, you know, there's a lot of uncertainty in the world, and so for people to be able to have a property in a place they know they can land with their with their family, it's worth paying a premium for that.
Like and that's where the utility side comes in, I think, right? Like people are not just looking at El Salvador as a place to have a vacation home. They're looking at El Salvador as a place to live.
Yeah.
Like a plan B, but also sometimes a plan A.
Yeah, I think it's value for value, you know, like hardcore Bitcoiners are hard that they will spend in Bitcoin, you know, but it's so crazy to see.
But you're just gonna die with all this Bitcoin and pass it on to your kids that are probably gonna like spend it and figure it away. Like
everything's cyclical. That's what you say.
That's one side, but it's also is like the value and return that you're getting. You know, like a lot of Bitcoiners that I have been seeing buying properties here is because they see that value in return. You know, that freedom.
And the relationships with the people that they interact with here, you have a certain type of people that have been drawn to El Salvador, and so.
And I have been hearing this too, that they want to be part of history. You know, I think it's what El Salvador is doing in many ways is history. You know, and being here now and being able to buy with Bitcoin, I think it's exciting. You know, even if we all know that Bitcoin will perform better, but we have one life,
Yeah, no, I think sometimes Bitcoiners can be short-sighted, and they're gonna live in a little, dumpy room, and not spend any money on anything. And it's like there's a balance. We should be wise with our money. We should be good stewards, but you do have one life here on Earth, and so it's silly if you're just gonna deprive yourself your whole life and not being able to enjoy what you've worked hard for. So it is that balance, and I think it shifts depending on where people are in life.
One thing I think that's been interesting as somebody who, well, I'm a Bitcoiner. I guess I can call myself a Bitcoiner, but I learned through real estate too that like Bitcoiners are really humble people. I think sometimes people who aren't a Bitcoiner look and see, like they think, oh, they want to buy really expensive things, or but Bitcoiners are humble, like they don't, I don't know. I think that's been really interesting to see from the demand on the side of our Bitcoin clients, like what they've been looking for.
Yeah, and I think Max was saying this, that buying a piece of property here in El Salvador is like buying Bitcoin when Bitcoin was like $600, So we're just in the beginning, right? So I think, like people are motivated for different reasons, and everyone is looking for different things. But what is beautiful is that El Salvador is providing. El Salvador is kind of becoming that spot with, even if we're so different, but we all are combining in something and finding this place where we're actually exciting, a place where, as a local, I feel exciting. Like someone like Paco that moved from Mexico feel exciting living here, Family moving here from Canada is like, this is the place that I want my kids grow up. And I think doesn't have a price. It's hard to put a price on that when you see your kids running on the beach, surfing, when enjoying the sun, like Jack Cruz said, that we need to enjoy the sun every day, and I'm agree with that. And so, that's doesn't have price,
No, I think that's a good sentiment to tie that aspect up. But I do want to make sure, I know you guys are doing something new. You have all these people that want to come down to El Salvador. They don't really know where to start. They want to look for properties along the way. And so you guys have developed, well, I'll let you explain it so I don't butcher it. Or I think we have a video that we can play that. Do you want to preface it first?
I can explain it live, or you can watch my video.
So we watch the video first, then you can explain it?
Sure, why not?
So.
People are really excited about what's happening in El Salvador. There are so many individuals who've never been here, but they're interested in El Salvador as a plan B, or they want to relocate their family or invest in a vacation property, but they just don't know where to start. So this trip was created specifically for this reason, to give individuals the know-how and the connections and the resources they need to make the right investment decisions here. The point is not that you walk away investing in a property, although that would be great. The point is that you walk away with the confidence that you need to take those next steps in El Salvador. We really want to set you up for success.
So give us the details on this trip, how long it is. I'm assuming you guys take care of the accommodations and transportation, and it's kind of a one-stop shop. And I think it's tied into the end of the Adopting Bitcoin conference, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, so I mean, we created discovery trips because we recognized a need. And I always have a 30-minute or hour-long consultation call with clients who are interested in El Salvador. So we open that up to anybody, and we answer all their questions about real estate and Bitcoin and anything that they want to know. And through those calls, we recognize that there were a lot of people that are just very curious about El Salvador, but they really don't know where to start, and that's why they're having these calls. So we created these trips, and we created 2 different models. We created our group trips, and then we created these private trips because we also recognize some people might want to come with a group and have this really straightforward itinerary that we create for those group trips. And then some people are looking for something that's more private. They want to stay in their own accommodations, and they want some customization with their itinerary. So we have these 2 different models. We are having a group discovery trip November 19th through the 24th, which is at the end of the Adopting Bitcoin conference here. And we basically take care for the group trips. It's all inclusive. Like, we do airport transport. We have transportation for all of the events that we do throughout the week. We have workshops with professionals, so like a lawyer, architect, just to give you an idea of the framework here in El Salvador. Real estate tours. So we show you how are people living here. We take you to gated communities. We show you oceanfront property, some of the pre-construction projects that are happening. We do a trip to San Salvador to get the documents that you need to make real estate purchases here. What else? Meals, private chef, all of those things. So, and it's a beautiful house that we stay here in El Zonte. But this is something that I really recommend for people who sort of want a shortcut to get the connections and the resources that they need. I think it's super helpful. And like I said in the video, really the point for us is not that you walk away purchasing a property, and there probably will be people who do that. But the idea is that you just feel really confident that the area that you would want to live in, or how you would want to invest, or do I want to start a company and then purchase a property with a company, and what are the tax, all of those questions that people don't even maybe know how to ask right away. So this is why we created this. And also I think it's just very cool for people to come here and be around like-minded people, and to meet people who have already moved here and what's their experience been like. So for us, it's going to be fun, but it's also it's meant to be also really help you educate you and really give you the tools you need.
And that's the type of thing that if you try to do it on your own, it might take you a month, but this you can do in a short number of days.
Yeah.
No, I think it will take more time because it's just talking with construction, we very often you and me, we're talking about construction, how hard it is to find the architect that you feel confident, that you want to work with, or the lawyers, or the, accountant. And we we think that when clients call us in the phone and say like, what can I buy? And we say like, if you want investing in El Salvador, you gotta come. You gotta come here and learning. And with the tools and the knowledge, then you will be able to, take bigger decision, a bigger investment. But after that, we can talk even the same language, and people understanding why here is more expensive. Why in El Zonte, the Malibu of El Salvador? Remember these guys.
So one, how do people sign up? And then what is I'm assuming for the custom tours that the cost depends on what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
But what is the cost for the group tour that you guys have coming up?
Yeah, so it's $4,000 for a couple.
Okay.
For a private room, obviously. 3,000.
And how long is
It's 5 days.
5 days. Okay.
Yeah, it's $3,000 for a individual who wants a private room, and then $2,000 for an individual who's okay with like sharing a room with somebody else. So we have 6 rooms available in the house, and
it's a beautifal house.
and it's a
I've
beautiful
stayed there
house.
before,
Yeah,
so
it's a beautiful house. So and there'll be some.
It's almost it feels like you're almost in like a hotel, but like the best part of a hotel and a house put together. Like
yeah, exactly. So and we like the house too because it has great shared spaces, so we can have workshops there, and there's like great places for people to network and hang out. But I think it's a very interesting way to get to know El Salvador, and I really encourage people to join us, like for a group or for a private. The way that they can get in touch with us is there's a contact form on our website, so you can just go to the contact page on our website, or message us or find us on Twitter. Like, we'll get back to you.
I hear your baby out there telling you that we need to be done.
Know, yeah.
That's a client calling us.
That's a client. Yeah, we got to go check in. That's an important one.
So how do they just go to your guys' website?
Yeah, just our contact page is the easiest, and
Okay.
then we'll get back to everybody. I think, and for us, like, we would love to have a call with everybody who's interested, just to tell them about the experience and see if like a group tour or a private tour would be right for them.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think Lions told us we're done.
Yeah,
so.
we're done. Thank you. Thanks for having us, Mike. This is fun.
No, we're gonna have to do it again. I mean, it took me so long to get you guys on, so we'll have to circle back in a few months and get some updates on how the trip went.
Okay.
So make sure you guys follow Good Life on Twitter. What's your Twitter handle?
Roman Martinez.
Roman Martinez.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you on Twitter?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't use it, but I'll start, I think, soon.
So, but you can follow Good Life. You can follow, and then obviously go to their website. Do you guys have like a newsletter or anything?
Yeah, we have an
Yeah.
email list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm on it because I get listings all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they'll send you out listings. So make sure you hit them up. And I got to say, these are the people who found me this amazing home where we have the podcast here. Sorry, it's the best location in El Salvador, so you guys will have to settle for the second best after this. So I can highly recommend them from personal experience.
Sorry.
All
Mike,
right.
thank
No,
you. I got to go.
Go be a
Mike.
mother.
Thank
Go be
you.
a mother.